I'm Mariam Akuorkor Tackie, current chairperson of FAWE Ghana. I think the purpose of this interview is to commemorate International Women's Day celebration. And the theme for this year I found to be very, very relevant and significant because it also marks 30 years of the Beijing Platform for Action, where commitments were made, promises were made to promote and enhance gender equality, development, and peace. Various reports, like the UN Women Report, ECOWAS Observatory Report, and among others, have indicated that though countries have made some progress, there are still gaps to be filled, and the need to accelerate implementation of various commitments and actions made to ensure gender equality and equity. For instance, the Beijing Platform for Action came out with a declaration and 12 critical areas of concern. These critical areas are still relevant to Ghana, and we only needed to accelerate implementation of these critical areas of concern. For instance, one of the critical areas dealt with women and poverty. Economic disparities still exist, with women still earning less than men and facing higher rates of poverty. In the area of education and training, while global literacy rates have improved, millions of girls are still denied access to quality education. And so there are gaps that will have to be bridged to accelerate gender equality in the area of education. Even though as a country we have attained parity in the area of primary and secondary education, there are still girls who are out of school. And that is why interventions like free senior high school education, school feeding, among others, needs to be accelerated to ensure that no girl is left out of the educational stream. And one may emphasize that education is very, very relevant to ensure a brighter future for both boys and girls in Ghana. So that is the need to continue to educate everybody, especially equipped girls and to some extent women with employable skills, with vocational training skills, with 21st century skills that will ensure their economic dependence, so they won't be adding to the statistics of women having a poverty face. Then in the area of violence against women, gender-based violence remains a crisis, and this also requires policy enforcement and societal change. Luckily for Ghana, we have passed a Domestic Violence Act, but we still face implementation challenges, and we need to accelerate action in this regard. When we look at women and health, inequalities in healthcare access, including maternal health, reproductive rights, continue to endanger the lives of women and to some extent adolescent girls. So we need to accelerate action in sensitizing them, educating them on sex education, so they will be in control of their reproductive health and rights, and be able to, so we can curb the incidence of teenage pregnancies, early marriages, harmful sociocultural practices that impede on the development of especially girls. Then in the area of women in power and decision making, leadership remains dominantly male dominated. That is why in July last year, the government of Ghana passed the Affirmative Action Act. The act is to promote and ensure that women's participation in political decision-making positions are enhanced. But there is need to accelerate action to ensure that the act is fully implemented. Because as it is now, there are no sanctions to compel political parties or any organization to implement the Affirmative Action Act. It is a laudable idea. We are aiming at 50% representation of women by the year 2030. So we have 5 years, and that is why we need to accelerate action to attain this goal of 50% representation of women. In the area of women and the economy, we still have workplace discrimination, unpaid care work, and there is gender pay gap, which hinders women's economic empowerment. For instance, the work women do at home, care work, domestic chores, are not captured in national statistics. It is taken for granted. We don't see it at work enough. Yet, in most situations, women are the first to wake up, but the last to sleep. And managing work and home interface is not easy. That is why we have to put in measures that will help women, especially working mothers who are still caring for younger children. There must be workplace facilities to enhance their participation so they can fully perform both their work and the house family responsibilities. I know these days men are trying to help, but they don't see it as their responsibility. The responsibility is solely on the women to carry out these responsibilities. And in combining both, women are virtually at a disadvantage, especially when you are pregnant and you have to take maternity leave. By the time you come back, you have been denied maybe certain opportunities for, progression upwards. In some organizations, they shy away from even recruiting women for fear they will go on maternity leave. But going on maternity leave and having children should be seen as a social responsibility. It's only women who can carry pregnancy and have babies, which are invariably vital human resource for the nation. And that is why we have to support them in whatever way possible to enhance their work. Even in the area of women in armed conflict, even though in Ghana we are not facing that challenge, but there are pockets of skirmishes here and there. And when that happens, it's women and to some extent children and vulnerable groups like people with disability, the aged, who suffers most. And so there must be protection and there must be need for peace building so that women who find themselves in such situations are safe and protected. So all these challenges listed call for urgent action, and there is need to enforce gender-responsive policies to ensure economic justice, equal pay for work of equal value. In the informal sector, women suffer disproportionately in terms of even social security. It is recent that social security is being introduced in the informal sector. Most of the people working, they don't even have pension. So upon retirement, they become vulnerable. So that is why we need to address these gaps. We need to invest in education and digital access to empower girls and women with 21st century skills. I think I've mentioned it already. We need to strengthen laws against gender-based violence and ensure access to justice. We need to promote women's leadership through political representation, mentorship, and inclusive decision-making. And this is where FAWE has a role to play in the area of mentorship, in the area of sensitizing community, engaging with community to address some of the sociocultural barriers which inhibit girls' education. I think FAWE has a specific role to play in this regard as we mark International Women's Day with the theme Accelerating Action for Gender Equality. I know we as FAWE have been instrumental in promoting gender equality and equity through various initiatives. Notable among these are scholarship programs in partnership with MasterCard Foundation and Commonwealth Secretariat, in partnership with universities and technical vocational education training institutions. But we need to intensify our efforts, and we need to do more to continue to advocate for girls in ICT. We need to engage more with the community to ensure that there are cultural changes. Sometimes we say culture is dynamic, and we need to change the mindset of the communities. I know as FAWE, we are already engaged with local communities to address challenges faced by African girls and women, and Ghanaian girls for that matter. We have implemented projects aimed at reducing teenage pregnancies, child marriages, school dropouts, but we need to do more. Through these initiatives, FAWE Ghana, we will continue to make significant strides in promoting gender equality and empowering women and girls access to education across the nation. I think I mentioned the MasterCard Foundation program in passing, but this is a major project which is going to enhance access to girls, especially those in marginalized communities, to tertiary education. That is a bridging program which is being implemented to be able to access tertiary education. And this is a very, very laudable project. Thank you very much.